Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're diving headfirst into something pretty universal, really. That dream of building something amazing, something successful.
Right, a venture that really thrives.
Exactly. But let's be honest, that dream often crashes into, well, the reality of pouring everything you have into an idea that just fizzles out. We've all
Yes.
seen it happen, maybe even lived it.
It's such a common story in entrepreneurship, and our sources really hammer this home, putting massive effort into the wrong thing. Well, that just speeds up failure.
Hmm.
But the good news is there is a kind of blueprint, a way to significantly boost your odds, not just for success, but for building something truly solid.
And that's exactly what we're unpacking today. We're calling it the Apex Blueprint, how to build and scale businesses that can really withstand challenges. It boils down to two key things, doesn't it?
Absolutely. Two pillars. First, super rigorous market validation, really knowing your stuff. And second, smart strategic ways to get the capital you need.
We've pulled this together from some really sharp expert insights. The idea is to give you, the listener, a kind of shortcut, get you well informed on these crucial strategies.
Yeah, the goal is helping you sidestep those classic, sometimes fatal mistakes, and maybe uncover some surprising tactics along the way, things that might genuinely change how you approach things.
So if there's one big takeaway today, let it be this. Validate like crazy before you build, then fuel your growth smartly without giving away the farm.
Couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
And talking about avoiding those big mistakes, that starts squarely with pillar one, elite business validation.
Right. So where do people usually go wrong? I mean, often disastrously wrong.
Well, the sources call it the singular most catastrophic error. And it's simple, really, building something, a product, a service, without really confirming there's a genuine problem first.
It sounds so basic, but
It is. But people fall in love with their solution. Imagine launching a rocket, all that power, aimed completely off target. It just gets you to the wrong place faster.
yeah, accelerates failure, as you said.
It's tough, but true. So to avoid that, our sources lay out this five-pillar validation framework. They call it an absolute must for building something sustainable, something profitable.
Okay, 5 pillars.
And what's interesting is how AI fits in. It's not the answer on its own, but it can be an invaluable co-pilot speeding things up.
So AI helps, but doesn't replace judgment.
Exactly. You still need human insight. You still need to talk to people, understand the market directly. AI just helps you crunch data or brainstorm faster. You still got to put your boots on the ground.
That makes sense, like a super smart research assistant. Okay, let's hit pillar one then. Unearth the profound market pain. The problem-solution fit. Imperative.
Right. And we're not talking minor annoyances here.
No small stuff.
No, this is about finding a deep-seated critical market void. A problem so real, so painful, that solving it feels almost like an existential necessity for your target audience, something that genuinely keeps them awake at night.
Okay, so how do you know if you've found that kind of pain?
There's a key test.
Hmm.
If solving this pain doesn't make potential customers want to pull out their wallets now, make a significant investment, then the advice is blunt. Abandon it.
Wow, abandon it.
Yeah, it really forces you to focus. Are you solving a nice to have or a must have?
Yeah.
Because only must haves build empires. Minor inconveniences, they just don't cut it.
And this is where AI can be that co-pilot you mentioned.
For sure. Think about it. You could use a prompt like brainstorm 10 critical unaddressed pain points for remote software developers facing burnout.
Okay.
Instantly, you've got 10 solid starting points, ideas you can then take out and actually validate with real developers, saves you maybe weeks of just guessing.
Right, it jumpstarts the process.
Yeah.
Okay, so you found this deep pain. What's next? Pillar two.
Pillar 2, profile the strategic buyer avatar, or the target audience mastery doctrine. This means creating a really detailed picture of your ideal customer.
More than just demographics, I assume.
Way beyond that. You need to understand their entire world, their daily grind, what they hope for, who influences their decisions, the pecking order, even what makes them tick psychologically.
That sounds intense, almost like you need to read their minds.
Well, the sources warn pretty strongly. Without an intimate, almost prophetic understanding of your buyer, your market positioning will be fatally compromised.
Oh.
You need to know what they think the ROI is. And critically, what they're actually willing and able to spend to solve this specific problem.
Okay, that makes sense. You can't sell a $10,000 solution to someone who only budgets $500 for that kind of issue.
Precisely. And again, AI can help sketch this out. A prompt like, Create a detailed buyer avatar for a service solving complex international tax laws for digital nomads.
Ah, that gives you a solid framework to build on.
Exactly. It helps you structure your thinking before you go out and do those crucial interviews and market deep dives.
Which leads us nicely into Pillar 3, mapping the influence and trust networks, the distribution strategy, antecedent.
Yeah, because knowing who your buyer is isn't quite enough. You also need to know where they hang out, who they listen to, where they get advice, where are they most open to influence. This really dictates how you'll actually reach them.
So we're talking influencers, but maybe not just the Instagram kind.
Definitely not just them. The term is much broader here. Think thought leaders, the respected experts in the field, community organizers, people running those niche forums or groups, micro-influencers or niche experts who have smaller but super engaged audiences.
Journalists, analysts.
Right, and even successful practitioners or founders, people who've actually walked the walk. Finding them means digging around, looking at industry forums, conference speakers, trade publications, using social listening tools, finding out who actually shapes opinions.
Okay, so you find these key people. Then what? Just pitch them.
No, that usually backfires. It's about strategic engagement, building real, authentic relationships. That means offering value first. Don't just ask for something.
Give before you get.
Exactly. Think collaboration, not just promotion. Maybe offer a free workshop for their community, share a unique insight, build trust, and importantly, test small. Try little things first to see what resonates before launching some huge campaign.
Makes sense. Don't bet the house on one outreach.
And the warning here is stark. If you cannot strategically access and influence your target buyers within their existing trusted ecosystems, your market entry will be arduous and capital intensive, if not impossible. It really makes you think. Are you trying to blaze a totally new trail or tapping into existing networks?
That's a critical question, and AI could help map those networks too.
Yeah, definitely. A prompt like, list the top 10 online communities where early-stage SaaS founders discuss customer acquisition. Boom, instant starting points for engagement.
Very practical. Okay, it's Pillar 3 on to Pillar 4.
Pillar 4, validate the unit economics and scalability. This is the profitability and growth mandate. Now we're talking hard numbers.
Moving beyond just the idea to the actual business model.
Precisely. It's about a rigorous assessment of whether your venture can actually make money and if it can grow substantially. You need a granular financial model, ideally before you sink serious cash into it.
So what are the key numbers to look at?
Things like customer acquisition cost SAC. How much does it cost you to get one customer? Customer lifetime value, LTV. How much revenue will that customer generate over time? Gross margins, operational overhead. The basics, but rigorously analyzed.
And there's a test for this too.
There is a pretty clear litmus test. Can you achieve a minimum of 3x LTV CAC at scale? Meaning, does each customer eventually bring in at least 3 times what it cost you to acquire them?
3 times, okay? And if not?
If not, you might have a scaling problem, not a scaling business. You could grow fast, but just burn through cash faster.
That's a sobering thought.
And the sources are blunt here. If the financial architecture doesn't show compelling, scalable profitability on paper, it will never materialize in reality. They even say, ideation without a robust financial backbone is merely a hobby.
Ouch. Hobby, not a business.
It sounds harsh, but it's about being realistic. Does the math actually work? Can this passion project become a viable enterprise?
Right, and AI can help model this out.
Yeah, it's great for brainstorming scenarios, you could ask. Brainstorm 5 potential business models for solution handling complex legal document review for small law firms, including pricing strategies. It helps you lay out and test those financial assumptions early.
Okay, got it. That brings us to the final pillar, Pillar 5.
Pillar 5. Architect the rapid value realization. This is the momentum and retention catalyst. It's the final check. Can you actually deliver clear, measurable value and do it fast?
Fast value. Why is speed so important?
Because it drives adoption and loyalty. The goal is to engineer a way for new clients to get a tangible, undeniable positive outcome really quickly, like within the first week, maybe even sooner.
That first aha
moment. Exactly. That quick win that makes them think, okay, this was worth it. This actually works. It validates their decision to sign up or buy.
Because people aren't just buying features.
Right. As the sources put it, clients do not merely purchase features or abstract value. They invest in speed of transformation, absolute certainty of outcome, and demonstrable results. How fast can you make their pain go away and prove it?
That's powerful. So how do you figure out that immediate win?
Well, AI can help brainstorm that too. Try a prompt like, For a meal planning solution for parents with picky eaters, what's the smallest, most immediate win a user could get in 24-48 hours?
Ah, like maybe generating just one successful meal plan.
Exactly. Something small, fast, and undeniably helpful. It gets them hooked.
So those are the 5 pillars, but you mentioned a scary statistic earlier.
Yeah, the unvarnished truth, as the sources call it. A staggering 90% of entrepreneurial ventures falter at Pillar 1.
90%.
Yeah.
Just on validating the problem.
Just on getting that first step right, which is why this whole framework is positioned as your shield against misguided effort. It forces you to nail the fundamentals.
Wow, 90%. That really underscores why this validation is absolutely critical. Okay, but let's say you do nail it. You go through all 5 pillars, the idea holds up. What's next? Because validation alone doesn't build the company.
Exactly. Even the best idea needs fuel. And that brings us to the second major part of the blueprint: strategic capital acquisition. And crucially, this comes after the validation. Not before, not during.
Right. Validate first, then fund.
Yeah.
Makes sense. So funding. Most people probably think venture capital, equity,
Yeah.
or maybe bank loans.
Those are the traditional routes, yeah. Equity financing, getting investment for a stake in your company. It can bring in big money, maybe mentorship too. But the downside is obvious. You dilute founder ownership and control. You give up pieces of your company.
And the other option, debt financing.
Yeah.
Loans.
Right. Bank loans, lines of credit.
Yeah.
But that usually requires collateral, a strong track record, which can be tough for early stage companies, especially those without lots of physical assets.
And our sources suggest these traditional models might not be ideal for B2B startups. Why is that?
Particularly for B2B companies with long sales cycles and payment terms. Think about it. You might land a huge enterprise deal. Yeah. But then the invoice says net 60 or net 90. You won't see that cash for 2 or 3 months.
Yeah, that creates a gap.
A huge cash flow gap. Even if you're technically profitable and growing, you can run out of operating cash. You can't pay salaries, can't invest in marketing, can't jump on the next big opportunity because your money is tied up waiting for clients to pay.
That sounds incredibly stressful. Growing but broke.
It can stifle growth completely. So the question becomes, how do you bridge that gap without giving up equity or taking on traditional debt that you might not qualify for anyway?
Okay, so what's the alternative?
This is where alternative funding mechanisms come in. The sources highlight these as often being non-dilutive, flexible, and faster ways to get cash. And one specific mechanism stands out for B2B.
Which is?
Fee-simple commercial factoring. It's positioned as potentially the unparalleled apex solution for B2B cash flow challenges.
Fee-simple commercial factoring.
Yeah.
Okay, break that down. What is it? Is it a loan?
That's the key thing. It's not a loan. It's the fee-simple sale of your accounts receivable. Basically, you sell your unpaid invoices to a third party called a factor.
So instead of waiting for your client to pay you in 60 days?
You sell that invoice to the factor, and they pay you a large chunk of it almost immediately, usually within 24 to 48 hours. It converts that future payment into cash you can use right now.
Okay, I see. Selling the invoice. What are the big advantages, especially for a B2B startup?
There are several really compelling ones. First, and maybe biggest, non-dilutive capital. You keep 100% ownership and control. You're not selling shares.
Huge.
Second, it leverages existing assets. You're literally turning your outstanding invoices money owed to you into cash. Third, rapid liquidity. Getting that cash in 24-48 hours is a game changer for managing operations.
That speed is incredible compared to waiting months.
Absolutely. Fourth, it's scalable with sales. As your sales and receivables grow, the amount of funding available through factoring typically grows too. Fifth, and this is a big relief for many founders, you can often focus on growth, not collections. The factor usually handles collecting the payment from your client.
Wow. They take over chasing the payment.
Often, yes. And finally, a really interesting point. It's often credit-based on a client, not you. The factor is more concerned with the creditworthiness of your client, the big company paying the invoice, than your startup's balance sheet. This makes it accessible even if you don't qualify for a traditional bank loan.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense, especially for startups selling to established companies.
Yeah.
So how does the process actually work, step by step?
It's pretty straightforward. Step 1, you do the work, deliver the service or product, and send your invoice to the client as usual.
Standard stuff.
Step 2, you also submit a copy of that invoice to the factoring company. Step 3, the factor verifies the invoice and advances you a percentage of the face value, typically somewhere between 70% and 95%, very quickly.
So you get most of the cash right away.
Right. Step 4, when the invoice due date arrives, your client pays the full invoice amount directly to the factor. Step 5. Once the factor receives the payment, they release the remaining balance, the reserve, back to you, minus their agreed-upon fee.
Ah, the fee. There's always a cost.
Of course. But the strategic thinking here is that the fee essentially buys you immediate cash flow, takes the collection burden off your shoulders, and improves your operational efficiency. It lets you grab opportunities you'd otherwise miss.
Can we walk through an example? Make it concrete.
Yeah, let's use Innovate Flow, that SaaS implementation firm. They sign a big $100,000 contract, but it's net 60 terms.
2 months wait.
Right. Waiting means they can't hire the extra engineers they need now or launch that marketing campaign. But with factoring, they submit the $100K invoice. The factor advances them, say, 85%. That's $85,000 cash in their bank within a day or two.
What?
Now they can hire immediately, run the campaign, accelerate growth. When the client pays the $100K in 60 days, the factor takes their fee, let's say it's $3,000, and sends the remaining $12,000 reserve to Innovate Flow. They paid $3K, but they got $85K instantly and kept 100% of their equity.
That $3,000 fee bought them speed and opportunity.
Exactly. It transformed a future promise into immediate fuel. Or think about BrandForge, that marketing agency with $50 in monthly retainers on net 45 terms.
The constant cash flow crunch waiting for payments.
Yep. But factoring gives them, say, an 85% advance, $42,500, as soon as they issue those invoices each month. Suddenly, they have predictable cash flow. They can invest in tools, hire staff, take on bigger clients, all because the payment lag is effectively eliminated.
It smooths everything out. But okay, it sounds great, but surely there are things to watch out for. Considerations.
Definitely. Smart entrepreneurs need to weigh the pros and cons. First, the cost of capital. Factoring fees are typically higher than interest rates on a traditional bank loan. You have to compare that fee against the opportunity costs of delayed growth, lost opportunities, and the immense value of retained equity. Is the speed and keeping ownership worth the higher percentage cost? Often, yes, but you need to do the math for your situation.
Makes sense. What else?
Client communication is key. You need to be transparent with your clients about the fact that payments will be directed to a factor. For most established B2B clients, this is pretty normal, but clear communication prevents confusion.
Good point. Avoid surprises.
And third, factor selection. Not all factors are created equal. You want a reputable one, ideally one that understands your specific industry and offers clear, transparent terms. Don't just chase the lowest fee. Find a good partner.
So it's about finding the right fit, not just any factor.
Exactly. Are you optimizing just for cost or for a strategic partnership that enables growth?
Okay, so wrapping this all up, the real Apex blueprint seems to be this powerful combination. First, you absolutely nail the market validation using those 5 pillars. Get that foundation solid.
Non-negotiable first step.
And then you get smart about funding growth. And for B2B especially, looking beyond traditional routes to things like fee-simple commercial factoring can be incredibly powerful. It turns those outstanding invoices, which can feel like a drag on cash flow.
Right, from a liability into a real asset, a dynamic engine for immediate non-dilutive growth, as the sources put it.
That's a great way to think about it. Okay, so as we finish up, here's maybe a final thought for you, the listener, to mull over.
If knowledge is really only valuable when you understand it and then actually apply it, what specific, maybe unvalidated assumption are you holding on to right now? Or what illiquid asset, like accounts receivable, is sitting there in your current approach?
Yeah, what could you transform today using these insights? How could validating that assumption or unlocking that cash let you move faster without giving up long-term control?
It's worth thinking about. How could applying this blueprint, that rigorous validation plus intelligent funding, really accelerate and secure your own path?
Definitely something to reflect on. We encourage you to take these ideas and start your own deep dive into making them work for you.